Awesome. And we'll go ahead and dive in. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in today. It's wonderful to see all of your faces. We're going to dive into this event, which is all about gaining a comprehensive understanding of subscription pricing to optimize your business's financial stability. So effective pricing strategies are paramount to success and can significantly surpass factors like customer retention and cost cutting in impacting a company's bottom line. In this workshop, you'll learn how to determine optimal pricing that reflects your subscribers' perceived value while also considering their payment preferences. With over 15 years of dynamic experience at the crossroads of finance, entrepreneurship, and sustainable growth, Zahra Yarahmadi excels in strategic financial management. Passionate about mentoring startups, she has aided over 100 ventures in securing $200 million in pre-seed and seed funds in the past 4 years. Her unique perspective, gained from working with both venture capital firms and from startups, provides a deep understanding of aligning goals for sustainable business success. Zahra, we are so excited to learn from you today and to learn from your expertise. We also know how valuable your time is. We're really grateful to you for investing in the Dreamers and Doers community in this way. And with that, I will very excitedly hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I'm so happy to have you all here. It's a pleasure. So a little bit about my background is my background is started in business and finance. And then through my engagement, like as a finance manager, FP&A with like variety of companies and different sizes, I realized for growing a company, growing revenue is more important than cutting costs. So that's where we need to focus. And then I shifted working in revenue. After working in revenue for a while, I realized the biggest element that helps you win or fail is pricing. So even if you have all the best teams of marketing and sales, but you don't have the right pricing strategy, it's not going to grow or hit the goals that the company has initially established for themselves. So having said that, let's dive into today's presentation. I try to keep it short to 30 minutes so we get a good chunk of time to discuss Q&A on the specific topics, because this is so I figured that would be more valuable. Based on the questions we have received up front, the perspective was significantly diverse. So I tried to, for the sake of the audience, touch base on a lot of topics, but then we go into Q&A so you can ask more specific to what matters for you. So let's do this. This is how you can get in touch with me. Obviously, you can reach out to me on D&D or on my LinkedIn or on my website. Because I touch base on a lot of topics and present some tools along the way, you might want to take notes or ask for the slides. Here you can scan the slide, so you don't need to do it. You can do it at the end. I will still present it, just so you know. You can get all the links and the tools that are used here for your reference later. So let's do this. So why pricing is important? Overall, 1% improvement in your pricing increases your operation profits by 11%. And how we came to this number is through a case study over 1,500 businesses across US in different sectors and industry. So even if you have the best pricing from your standpoint, still it worth investing in your strategies that you have for pricing, because even if you can change that middle a little bit, the result would be significant. So this session, we want to go first on 3 biggest mistakes to avoid when you're pricing. What is where to start? Whether if you have a business or if you're launching a business or launching a new product, what are the steps you want to take and start to get to a good fit of pricing? And then some tips at the end on what we learned working with 120 companies within these 4 years might work and might not work. So the top 3 mistakes are, first and for the most that we see, is copying competition without doing due diligence. Because when you copy competition, you don't think why they did that, or whether they did it right or wrong, or is that a good fit for your business. So that's the biggest pitfall that founders and business owners fall into. Then just throwing a spaghetti at the wall, let's try different things and see what works. That's like a lot of mistake that can happen, that sometimes you can't recover from them. And then sometimes the amount of losses that becomes because you use such a strategy. And then at the end is not balancing price of your product or service with perceived value from the customer side. So where to start, right? Where to start is, there's always a process that we go through with different companies, and in the summary, this is how it looks like. We go in detail on each function. I don't want to get into a lot of theory. I will just go through like what is it that you need to focus on. So first, for the most, we expect everyone knows what their product is, right? What is your definition of your product or service, the value prop, and the differentiation factor with the competition. Then is cost structure, which becomes variable cost, fixed cost, and cost of goods sold, or COGS. As easy that it sounds, you will see that that's the biggest challenge that companies have to estimate. Then it's the target audience and competitive landscape, or like kind of analyzing the market that you want to go into. Then it becomes like, how do I do a price matrix, and how I put together my pricing strategy. So the tools we use for this is like a pricing matrix. We do a profit margin analysis with like based on different customer cohorts and types and their usage of the product and their payment options, like what are the margins at the end. And then like making a right pricing decision. So after that, it's finalizing it and positioning it. What do you need to be considerate about? And how do you position, like, let's say, entry to market pricing? And after you have done it, when you finalize it, what is the way you want to launch it, right? That needs full company alignment, especially between sales and marketing and finance, that if you have a previous pricing and you want to go to a new one, and then how to do A/B test, and then after it's done and finalized, reviewing it, risk mitigation, if something goes wrong, how to fix it. So that's the whole overall approach of process of what pricing and pricing strategy does. As you see, it touches a lot on revenue, sales, and finance teams, right? So it's like a cross-functional collaboration between the teams to make the most of it. So let's start with okay, this is a great process, where to start, right? Again, back to zero. We want to analyze the market we are in or we are going to go into. The simplest way to look at it is, what is your total market size, addressable one? Then from that, what is the serviceable, available market to you? And then what is your goal that is serviceable, obtainable market? That's what you've heard probably a lot, but it's TAM, SAM, and so on. And it's basically, if it's the all addressable market is 100, let's say 30% is, I put the calculation for you here. So the software is 30%, the global demand is 30 billion, right? And then from that 30 billion, if you're doing SAM at 20%, that's 1.8 billion. And if you're targeting 5% of that, that's 1.8 billion, right? But like, what does these numbers mean to us, really? Like, these are significant numbers that someone that wants to start, or even immediately, like, I'm never going to be making this, or it probably takes 10 years or 15 years or 20 years if I become successful. So how it connects is really this. When you are putting together a roadmap for your company, for your product, you shouldn't stop at just today. You have to have a bigger picture that when I'm successful, right, within the first 3 years, this is what reasonable goal or target of revenue that is going to be representing my company in 3 years. And then what would it be in 5 years, and what would it be in 10 years? And those numbers at the end of the day, whether you're doing a roadmap or 5 or 10, should connect to your SR. So as you can see, for example, we start at 2022 and till 2023, this is how the TAM, SAM, and SOM kind of works and where we are heading. So that's the first step, understanding. Why is understanding this is important? Because let's say we forget about all of this past 3 years. Let's look at the first 3 years, right? If my revenue goal for the first 3 years is 5 million, and I assume the average spending of the customer on my product is, let's say, 100K. How many clients do I need to get to this 5 million, right, within 3 years? And are there enough customers out there that I can reach to hit this 5 million? It might be like, oh yeah, 5 million is nothing, like we can definitely get it. But when you look at it in bigger numbers, you realize sometimes you cap the market, not only your SIM, you cap your TAM too and go over it. That's like a downfall to a lot of projections and presentations that the startup do for investors, and they fail because the investors look at it and it's like, okay, you're increasing 20% year over year, but there are only this much customers out there. So these projections are not valid, right? So that's why you want to first understand where you are going. Then you want to go into analyzing who is your competition, right? I created this tool. You can click on it, as you can see here, and it takes you to the file and you can use it, right? And for your own product. Analyzing competition means find your direct and indirect competitors. Sometimes I have clients that come to me and say like, oh, we are first to market. We don't have any competition. We are like, this is an amazing idea. No one else is doing this. We are the first one. Okay, great, amazing, right? You don't have a direct competition, but you have indirect competition, right? Specifically B2B. When you are doing selling to businesses, there's limited number of businesses out there, right? And then how does a business make a decision? It's very similar to a person. You have a finance probably budget for yourself, you know how much you can spend, and you make decision how you want to spend your money. So business does the same thing. So you might not have the exact product service that is listed in the current budget, but you are competing with other items that are in that budget. So those are your indirect competition. And then the next one that you want to understand is your benchmarks, right? There might not be such a service as yours in your industry, but there are definitely similar ones in other industries. So you can use those as benchmarks that like, okay, how this works in a different industry and how that is going to affect me. So that's a little bit about understanding your competition, what features or value they're providing, and where you are standing and your product is standing in this whole landscape. So you can utilize matrix boxes that is made for this. It's easy. It's not that hard to do because you're the owner, you know what your product is, so you can simply find where you stand in this competition matrix. Okay, so the next one is pricing and how it impacts our business. Pricing reflects the value prop of your product, the brand positioning, and your marketing strategy. So all of these needs to work together to help your company grow. So it's not just one, you fix one and you disregard the rest of them. All of them needs to align. We look at the pricing page of a competition. It shouldn't just be a simple price tag for us. We need to understand what that means, what the tiers mean. Obviously, a lot of us know what tiers mean right now, but what is more important is all of those small things on the bottom that they put, right? That's how it really affects the end user and how they're going to use those products. So we want to now go into how to start doing our pricing strategies. There are different pricing models. I'm not going to go through theory of this. These are the top ones. What is more trending in SaaS B2B nowadays, even D2C, is hybrid models. A hybrid model is a combination of a few of these all together. So it is tiered, but it's capped. It is tiered, but it also have a usage perspective on it. So that's like, if you hit a certain usage, then you automatically need to pay more or go to an upper tier, right? So that helps a business to leave less money on the table. Because at the end of the day, even if you have a product that is solely usage-based, right? And you want to transition that into it, instead of billing you, you use your electricity and pay the bill. And you want to say okay, we are not going to bill you like that. We want to transition into a subscription business, right? You can't come up with an exact tiers that satisfies everyone. So you end up with buckets that are good averages for your average customer cohort. But that creates a lot of conflict and unsatisfaction between the customers. And sometimes it hurts your business because not everyone is using as you projected. So that's why it matters to put caps, floors, tiers, walls into your subscription pricing. Sure that you are not losing money and you are delivering the right value to the right customer. As I said previously, when we go through this whole process, first we understand the market and product, then the target and market analysis, and then we go to the difficult ones. The first one is cost calculation. A lot of people think that's easy and they know what it is, but we make an example of how that can be challenged, right? When you want to start capturing the cost of your product, you need to understand your customer journey, how they are using your product, what are the touch points at each intersection, how they are behaving with your product, right? And what cost it creates for you. So that's why starting with a customer journey map matters. Then you need to account for sales cycles. How are you going to sell this? A customer journey is when they already sign up with you. But before that, its sales cycle happens. When you are selling to a business compared to a customer, the sales cycle differs significantly. The reason being is when you send to a person, it's one person that can make the decision right there and then, right? But when you're doing it to a business, depends who is seeing or interacting with your product. They might not be the decision maker, or even if they are, it's not a single person decision. So it needs to be a business decision. That means several people at several levels need to come together and agree that they wanted to pay a significant amount of money to bring on board a new product. And it's not just the money. When the business gets together, they think about okay, how it impacts their business, how it impacts their staff, and how much time they need to spend on it. A good example can be the SaaS products that needs implementation periods, right? Even if it's a software, it still needs its team, project managers or engineers to help customize sometimes the product to the end user, right? That's not only time on the provider side, but also the receiver client needs to allocate resources to work with them and implement that product. So now, before you are getting any revenue, you are paying for your sales team upfront to sell the product. You have to pay for implementation. Sometimes companies charge for their implementation, sometimes not. And then sometimes there's a learning curve, sometimes there's like an onboarding phase. So that delays the amount or timing of revenue coming in. So that's where a lot of SaaS companies fail, because they don't forecast enough time and resources that they need to spend on the company till the revenue comes in. Okay, now the revenue is coming in. The revenue comes in, but it's coming on installment. It's a subscription. You're not getting paid everything up front. So probably the first 3 months that you are getting in installments or revenue in is only going to cover your cost of sales or customer acquisition. Then another 2 months needs to be spent on covering the cost of overhead, the cost of administration, and anything else that is related in the business. So you are at 5 months, you're still not even close to break even. So probably putting all of that together, the product needs 6 months on average to break even. So if you have churn, you will never even get to break even. So if your customer and your customer journey is not built in a way that retains the client and you lose them before that 6 months, you're losing money. So after 6 months is what we call payback ratio or payback time, is where you are actually making profit, right? So that amount of time between 6 to a year is the amount of time that you're actually going to get a lot of your profit. Now, if they renew for another year, and basically a lot of SaaS companies design everything for that same reason, only that the customer stays with them and sign up for another year. And that's where you can see a significant amount of margin, and that's how the large companies that you have heard of are increasing their profitability year over year. That's the beauty of a subscription revenue that builds up year over year if the customer is satisfied. We have 1 more minute left. I'm sorry. I think I went too much details on that, but so you need to account for the need to align the business with the ROI expectation from customer. What that means is there are costs that you need to make modification or adjustment to your product to match new customer expectation or what exactly they want. You also need to account for discounts on promotion you're going to give, right? When your sales team is going out, they have a face price, but usually at the end of negotiation, that's not the price that you're signing a client up. So you need to upfront account for that on top of your pricing that you're putting on the website or anywhere, that after that you still can maintain healthy profit margins. The biggest downfalls that I've seen among these a lot of startups is missing the cost of freemium. If you are offering a free product or free experience of your product within a limited time, and they're not calculating the cost for it, how that can affect you is, let's say the product needs a lot of storage, and the customers that are even free upload a lot of files in the cloud that you have to pay for the cloud. So if you have a massive amount of free users that are constantly using your cloud services, then you are having a lot of cost for your cloud that you haven't accounted for. So that's why it matters how to cap your freemium services. There should be a wall when, like, how much megabytes they can use, how many transactions, how much API pinging, how much, like right now it's a lot of AI, right? Everyone thinks AI is so easy to calculate. It's not. Every token or every word that you put in to use with that AI has a cost. So your free users are creating costs for you. As much as it's minimal, it will add up. So that's like a biggest one challenge that a lot of AI companies have, that like how to manage this, how to manage how many pings or refresh of the data they get on the back end that doesn't increase their cost. Missing implementation cost, obviously. Features that would be developed future. So there's a lot of missing items, right? And you might say like, okay, we don't know what we don't know, right? How am I going to project how this cost will add up? Okay, you might not know the exact amount, but there are benchmarks. There are averages of industry, of other companies doing this and how much they spend. So you can get a good estimate of, for example, 30% goes to marketing, 20% goes to R&D, or like this percentage goes to implementation. So that's a way to kind of get an estimate of what these costs are. So I hope that was useful. I want to go and give you a chance to scan this code so you can get the presentation and access to that dashboard once you scan it, or you can simply type the website and answer 2-3 questions and download it. So if you're good, I give it 30 seconds. So you get a chance. And now I want to give a few tips for optimizing the pricing. Something that we didn't have time to go into is A/B testing and feedback, and how that can help your retention, and how the feedback loop can help your retention, and how A/B testing can help you figure out the right dynamic for your pricing. So definitely use A/B testing. It's definitely harder for a B2B SaaS to do A/B testing, so there needs to be much more work upfront versus if you are D2C or retail, because you can simply change your prices and see different landing pages, how that works, versus B2B, you're dealing with businesses, so it's not that easy to change your pricing. A lot of time companies think it's pricing is set it and forget it. That's a good recipe for failure, and leaving a lot of profits and margins on the table. You need to constantly, at least every month or 3 months, revisit your pricing, not to change it, but to at least understand what's working and what's not working, and how you can modify it and find the right time to modify it. So there needs to be planning. Okay, we can't change it every month, but we can come up with a plan with our studies on customer behavior to what should be the right one and when we should relaunch our new pricing. Basing your decisions on data all the time when it comes to pricing and revenue. A lot of time I've seen startups that their goal is to grow the revenue because they want to raise the next round, and they're like, okay, we need to hit this much million no matter what. Do anything you want, like give as much as discount you want, or for the sales team, but just hit this revenue goal. That can actually be extremely dangerous. You want to increase your revenue, you need to base that decision on your data. If you're not seeing enough customer renewals and you go aggressive on sales, then at the end of the year, you're even worse off because the more customer churns and you won't hit those. So you need to base your decisions on giving sales incentive on data. Choose the right time for adjustments. okay, what is the best time to adjust? Usually, if you want to do a promo, it's based on the seasonality of your industry. When is the peak? You want to do promotion, do it that time. You want to change it, it's sensitive, do it on the low season when there is the least of the transactions happening. So you have kind of control over the risk of failing. Like if something doesn't work, you're not going to accrue a lot of loss. Engage customers for insight. Over and over again, engage your customer, get feedbacks, get surveys, ask questions, do interviews, and gather those inputs from the customer to understand how your pricing is helping them to make decisions or what is working in the product or not. Something is like psychological pricing. It's out of the time for now, but a simple example is like how you bundle and price tag your product so the customer buys the bundles rather than just standalone items. Prioritize transparency. Make it simple, clear, and easy to understand. If they can't understand your pricing, the customer won't feel confident about what you are presenting, and they are not confident that you are a good fit. So transparency matters. And one way to do it is creating calculators, for example, or tools for the customer or a simulation for them to clearly understand what is going to be their price or cost using your product. And that's about it.
Thank you so much. And it was perfect that you shared how members can get in touch with you. That's awesome. And oh, and I won't bother to do it now, but anyways, I just want to thank you for your time and everybody else for joining. And Sarah, it was great to see you. And I'll let you all go and have a
Thank you
wonderful.
so much. Take care and have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.